you don't get to have a bad day. And if you do have it, you don't let your teammates know that. You don't get those rights or those mishaps anymore. You don't get to treat people like they're robots, because it's not that. You are here to love and serve these people because they're loving and serving you and your company.
Our biggest troubles in corporate America is taking advantage of the young, single, early married, no kids, or it's the mom or dad who's in their 40s, who is in the corporate role and saying, well, I need you to do what you did 10 years ago. Instead of like, no, I need you here. Instead of like, no, I need you to be a happy employee, because that's more meaningful.
Business is all about connections, whether it's people that you work with, people that you are connected to, people that you may be connected to. It's all about that.
Welcome to the Tyler Dickerhoof Show with your host, me, Tyler Dickerhoof. On today's show, man, I already know this is going to be great. My new friend, Lindsey Huettner. Did I say that right? I didn't even get you. We were talking about all the other things. How do I properly say your last name?
Yeah, so I married into this name. No one knows.
I mean,
no one knows. So
I can say it however.
You can. Yeah. Some
Huettner,
of them say
Huettner,
Huettner, right?
Huettner,
So
okay.
yeah, some
German.
of them say like there's no U. Some of them say Huettner, which I don't know if I really like. Huettner.
Okay.
Whatever.
Huettner.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Lindsay is a serial entrepreneur, an amazing, captivating conversationalist already. She leads a marketing agency called the It Crowd. She lives in Dallas. Man, I'm so excited to have this conversation. If nothing else, I already know that, we're going to be friends that continue to interact and share. And man, I love it. Thank you for joining me, Lindsay.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I'm pumped. We had an initiative to get on podcast, or my team wants me to start my own. So you and I can talk through that too.
So why?
Why? Because I guess they think that people want to hear from me.
I go with the hard-hitting questions early, Lindsay.
Yeah, I guess. Well, so just like you, when you started this podcast because you said that you were trying to help people or entrepreneurs within our age demographic lead well. And one of the things that I do is it's called Letters from Lindsay, and that comes out every month, and it's all kinds of things. It's our monthly newsletter for the It Crowd. However, it has just whatever I want to talk about in the beginning. So it's Letters from Lindsay, and it actually kind of started, it did start during the pandemic where, oh my gosh, what is happening? And so I started this Letters from Lindsay campaign of, guys, this is what I'm finding. This is my bank. This is how you do this. This is what I'm doing here. And that goes to entrepreneurs, that goes to Fortune 500 CEOs, it goes to all kinds of different people of just, this is the real life of what I'm dealing with. And so every topic is different. And so
I love it. I mean, I really think you should have a topic called Lindsay Lou from Kalamazoo and explain that story. So people watching, obviously we're going to tag Lindsay's Instagram plus the It Crowd, but that's the name of your Instagram handle. Shocker, you're not from Michigan.
I'm not.
Learned that.
No.
But what I love about what you share there is oftentimes I'll get asked, hey, how do you do this? Or how did you do that? Or like my wife and I who've been in business now together, almost 19 years in some way, shape, or form.
And you're married still.
Be 20 this year.
Yeah. My husband and I, we continue to try doing this and we keep firing each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm impressed.
Man, there's so much truth in that one. It's being in business with your spouse is really hard. Being married is hard in and of itself, but being in business with your spouse, and we've gone through ups and downs. But one of the things that people ask, the little tricks, and one of the things that my wife has well recognized, I don't say mastered, but understanding the entrepreneurial finance shell game. And it's the shell game of finances, meaning how do I pay people here, there, what business line do I have? Just keep all the shell going, because that's the reality of business and entrepreneurship. It's not this, there's money flowing every day where you don't have to, no, it is a shell game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny when we talk to people and she will bring that up because she's recognized it now where it's not easy and it's gut-wrenching, but can do it. Tell me about that in your different businesses or where you're at now for people listening that are either they're entrepreneurs themselves and realizing, hey, that's real life, or maybe they're working for like a startup or a business. I know people that are, and like have some grace what, founders, owners, operators are going through financially.
Yeah. So one thing that changed my financial outcome, if you like, a few years ago, I read this book. I'll have to think of it, what the book is called. But it's about paying yourself first.
Oh, yeah. Mike
What is it called?
Michalowicz,
Yes.
Profit First.
Yes.
Yeah.
I read that and it was brilliant.
Okay.
And so I started that like 5 years into my business.
Give the premise for people that haven't read the book.
Exactly. Yeah. So started it about 5 years ago. And the reason why I started it was because, and this is kind of his preface in the book, is you're a business owner and you're not making any money. Why? And so let's pay ourselves first before paying everything else, because all of the other things will most likely fall into place. Now, I don't know if they always most likely fall into place, but the premise of it is awesome. So what he says is it's almost like the envelope system when you were little. And it's, you have different bank accounts and you have like secret bank accounts where you never can see those. And that's for your taxes and that's for your savings. And then you pay your bills out of everything else. And it's a percentage, and you start off with a ridiculous percentage, that's your operating amount, and you slowly, month by month or quarter by quarter or year by year, decrease your operating percentage and increase your savings, increase your tax side, increase all of these other things. I changed up the envelopes a little bit, but it's been amazing to be able to have that and have it automated, and then also be able to take my C-level executives and have them have their compensation tied to that as well.
Well, I think what's easy when it's hard is when you start a business in and of yourself and it's you and you're just trying to like, I hope this is better than what I was doing before. I hope there's going to be money to earn. But oftentimes in so many businesses, there's not at the start. You're building something towards it. And, it's where oftentimes entrepreneurs work in another company while they're starting their business, or maybe they jump out and they have a capital line where they can get started and kind of burn through that. But what I love you shared is like, sometimes you got to grow up in a business. And what I gathered from you said you started that 5 years ago, but entrepreneurially, I mean, you've been in business 10, 12 years, right? And so you kind of made a switch at some point. It's like, oh, we have to do this better.
Yeah. Well, when you first start out a company, you most likely aren't making any money at all. And so it's, how am I going to actually pay the bills? So it's not even about paying yourself at that point. It's how am I going to pay the bills, and how am I going to make sure, especially when you hire your first people, it's like, oh my gosh, that's the most gut-wrenching thing that you could ever do, because now their lives are, and so you have to get to a certain point. And I would always pray like to the IRS gods, like, please don't come audit me, because I'm just trying to make it work. No.
I've been audited twice.
You have?
Not by the IRS. But it was so great because I learned a lot, and it wasn't as painful as what I thought. Meaning everything's in QuickBooks for me. Everything is recorded. Everything is a bank account or a credit card. Is like, there is no cash anywhere in our world. So again, if you want to find it, you can go find it, right? Now, oftentimes as a business owner, that lands on your shoulders or your accountant, and it's heavy work. But both times I got audited, I got refunded.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to get audited anytime soon because I don't want to have to go through it. But it also taught me that, oh, hey, you're actually doing things pretty well. Like, and I was fortunate in both those instances. The auditor, they worked really well with me. They helped me. One of them was for here in Washington, it's called L&I, labor and insurance. So instead of workers' comp, they have their own state. So it was that. Okay. And then the other one was by the State Department of Revenue. And what I ended up finding out is that because of how our business is separated, we could actually pay less business tax because so much of our business was across the country. Now, I mean, it's those things I think are, that's a reality of business. And if you have good software, good systems, then it's really not that big a deal. Again, I don't want to be audited anytime soon.
Mm-mm. Yeah, let's not transcribe it so the IRS sees that part on SEO.
Yeah, we won't do that. But here's the thing that I want to go back and kind of get back on track is those lessons, like you said, implementing that financial system helped you lead better, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about the days before that compared to the days after as far as pressure on your shoulders leading.
Yeah. So before I had the system, I guess you would call it, it was very much, okay, do I hire somebody, especially in the marketing agency, it's you have work and then it's where do you hire? Do you hire before you have the work or do you have the work and then you hire? And so that's always a tricky balance. And not having a system prior to this, it was just really scary. I mean, you just literally roll the dice. Like, which direction should you go?
I think I need someone, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that definitely helped alleviate that. And then it also really helped me alleviate waste and working in our means. So working in the means of what I dictate the means are and not what the business dictates the means are. And having
So explain that a little bit more. Give me an example.
So my means is a specific percentage. My operating budget is a specific percentage. Now, if the company fluctuates, and say it fluctuates a little bit, I want to make sure that my operating budget changes as much as it possibly can, unless it's people. Even through COVID, I never let anybody go because that's just, I'm working with people's lives. But I want to be able to flex that. And I need my C-level executives to know that as well. And so it's, we're going to spend money this month as opposed to this month, or we're going to do this based on retainers that are coming in. And for them to be able to understand that and to be able to make wise business decisions. And what's been really fun to watch is not only are they able to start looking at how to budget for the business, it's starting to translate into their personal lives, which has been a really fun transformation to watch with some people.
I think what I understand there that I had to learn partly because of being involved in dairy farms where, it was very fluctuating from month to month revenue change is you can have a budget, but reality is much different. And I often see or hear or talk to people, they're like, well, it's not in the budget. Like, yeah, but do you need to pay for you to learn because this is the next obstacle? Then you have to be able to be flexible. You can have a short time frame budget, but then have a bigger long-term picture to say, yeah, you know what? It is smart for me to invest into leadership training. It's smart for me to send XYZ executives to a conference where I know they're going to get something to bring back. Now I'm going to put requirement like, hey, bring something back. But that investment is going to be good. And then there's times where it's like, hey, I know we're going to go into a slower time of the year, especially as an agency. There's times of the year our receipts are going to be slower. I need to justify and manage that. It's like, hey, all right, coming back to the shell game, how do I play to know that I need to continue to force growth, grow internally, but that means that's going to come at a cost.
Yep.
We talked the very open. We started this before. I mentioned to you the things that my wife and I are involved in. Obviously, this podcast, leadership community, network marketing, part of an ownership group for soccer. And you shared that you played soccer for 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a 2-year-old.
So you started at 2.
Thank you. Yes. I do have a 2-year-old. I did not start at 2, but I do have a 2-year-old. And I swore, my parents are like, you're going to be a soccer mom. I'm like, I'm not. There's so many other sports, right? Like there are indoor sports like basketball where I can have popcorn during the basketball game. There's swimming,
and not get rained on,
right? There's golf, even golf. If we have to play an outdoor sport, there's golf. I can go to really great resorts. Like there's so many better options than the hottest of hot and the coldest of cold that soccer seasons are in. My 2-year-old, he started at 1 and he will kick everything. It could be a basketball, it could be a baseball, it could be a football. It doesn't matter. It's all a soccer ball to him. And my parents are laughing at me like this is karma. It's coming back to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I'll have a soccer child as well.
What level did you play at? Did you play, how competitive? Like what? Give us some take there.
I played really competitively. I had a full ride for D1 school to play soccer. Well, we won't go into that because I didn't go.
Oh, no. That now I want to hear. Now this is getting good.
Yeah, so I was supposed to go to John Brown University in
Okay.
Arkansas, and I didn't go because of a boy.
Oof. Okay. Who you're not married to? Or you are
Nope.
married to?
No,
Okay, not married to.
not
Okay.
married.
All right. All right.
Not
All
married
right.
to
All right.
him. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. So you
my
chose
parents
not to
were
go play.
real excited about that.
Okay. So did you go somewhere else and play soccer?
No.
Or okay, just gave it up.
That was it. That was the end of the career. I mean, then I played. So at the level that we were playing, people would go off to school and then they would always come back. And so then we played on women's leagues. And so I did that for a very long time. And I'm probably the only person that I know that doesn't have ACL surgery. So I have stopped playing because I'm interested in walking.
This is just hot in the news. I think Nike's behind it. I was talking to the operating owner of the soccer team we're involved in, and she was mentioning something where Nike's looking into this. I think other people are starting to look into and research menstrual cycle and ACL tears.
Oh, I haven't heard about that, but I have heard of menstrual cycles and coaches starting to understand where women are and when they can push them and when they can't push them.
That was brought up, and that's kind of like the whole metrics of, whether it is pretty much every professional athlete. A lot of high school athletes now wear a tracker. I know my son, when he was playing club soccer a couple years ago, they had it. Different avenues, but it makes so much sense in regards to I'm wearing a Whoop, understanding that load and what happens from like just workload. And so it makes sense, to me from a hormonal balance. Again, going back to my background, you see cows, right? That understanding that, as hormones change, so do as everything in the body. And so the relationship between ACL tears and hormonal variants, to me, that's not a stretch. Now, what's difficult as you're managing a roster of athletes is, how do you navigate that? And, again, it's going to be interesting to know the information, but then the challenge of how do you utilize it well?
More power to them. I don't know.
I mean, I think in this conversation, we can relate, though. Think about it. As you're a leader in a business, as I engage in different businesses and understanding what people are going through, I shared with you some of my IP is the walls that hold people back in regards to leading. And one of them is insensitivity.
So marketing is what we do. We're really good at it. But one thing that I started finding was that when I was going into companies, and we work with companies between like 20 and 200 million, that's kind of our sweet spot. And so most of the time I'm talking to either C-level executives or I'm talking to the CEO directly. And we want a seat at the table. So we're here to help. We're here to do either, the tactical as well as planning.
You want to be a partner.
Right. And one of the things that I have found is that it's always an icky feeling. It's the icky feeling. Actually, I just did a letter from Lindsay on this one. It's that gray area icky feeling when CEOs or managers don't know when to let somebody go and when to keep somebody. And it's because were they onboarded correctly? Were their expectations met? Did you meet their what is the reason why this isn't working out? Because you hired them for a reason. Did you just not hire very well? Whatever that looks like. And so one of the things that I really work with executives on is how to get to black and white. How do you get to black and white instead of this icky gray feeling when it comes to people? And how do you come be their biggest cheerleader, even if they're not working out in your company? So I'll give you an example. I hope that she doesn't mind. One of the women on my team, she is so lovely, and she just like brings so much joy to me every single day that I see her. And last quarter, third quarter, I kind of started feeling like you can feel, right? You can feel the slippage of what's going on. Something's off. So I started feeling that. And we do quarterly conversations. And so we work on the EOS method. So we read traction, implemented it however many years ago. And so her quarterly conversation was coming up. And I was kind of feeling things. And we change it up just a little bit of like, how are you doing, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. And we went through her assessment. And at that point, and I had given her warnings of, so-and-so, we'll call her Amy. Amy, you need to make sure you're doing this. Amy, you need to make sure you're doing that. Like, we need to make sure that we're doing these things. Do you
Warnings or
agree?
encouragements?
Do you agree that these things need to happen? Yes.
Okay.
Do you agree that this is part of your job description? Yes. Okay. So stop making me manage it type thing. And
yeah, I would say it's like a DTR.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. So we get to the quarterly conversation, and the first few pages are her rating herself based on, does she get it? Does she want it? Does she have the capacity? And how is she with our company values? And Tyler, I have to tell you, by the end of it, she's almost in tears. And people don't, like, we don't cry in business, like, but she's almost in tears. And I go, Amy, what's going on? And she was like, Lindsay, I have to tell you, I don't know what's happening to me, but I was really sick in Q3, which I knew about. And in Q4, like, she had almost a cancer scare. In Q4, like, my mental health, she was like, I've always been really joyous. I've always been this really bubbly person, but like, I don't know what's going on with me. And at that point, the icky feeling goes away, because you go, this is a person, and Amy, we're going to stop this conversation. Like, we're going to stop this quarterly conversation. And now I'm just talking to you as a person. Like, what's happening? How do we get you better? You need to go to the doctor. Here's some more of my experiences. I also struggle with mental health, and this is my experience behind it. And now your assignment is to go to the doctor. It's not to do anything for me. Let's get you to the doctor. Few weeks later, she's gone to the doctor. She's still not doing her job. And at that point, I go, Amy, it's time to put you on a PIP. And she goes, you're completely right. You're completely right. I go, please don't make me fire you. And so the tables are completely turned at this point. I'm going, Amy, please don't do this. Like, because I'll have to, but I don't want to, because I really like you and you can do a really good job for us. But we've gone through the steps. We've gone through 3 or 4 months of this. It's time to, like, get back to expectations. And she has soared. She's done absolutely amazing since then. And so it's that icky feeling, that gray, that I think you just have to try to alleviate.
So there's 2 beliefs that I have. The first is, I describe what you just gave story to as empathy. It's putting your arms around someone and walking with them. You're not in her shoes. You can relate to her, but that means that's walking together. That's how I define it. That's how I talk to people. That's how I train on it. That is empathy. Now, part of that is there's an expectation on both. One, I'm connected to you. You're connected to me. And there's some point it's like, this doesn't work anymore. And that's okay. That is, to me, that's very healthy. I think one of the difficulties people have, if there's not willing to do what you said, time out, I'm a human, you're a human, let's talk on a human level, because that is either it's work, we don't have the place for it. And I mentioned you kind of as we were chatting a little bit, this sandwich that we're in, right? An older generation, like, we don't do that. You don't show vulnerability. They're going to take advantage of you. You're going to have people manipulate you. It's like, all right, yeah, you might, but what happens if you don't treat this person like a person and they just do really shitty work to screw you over? Because that happens, as opposed to, I'm going to be human. I'm not going to be a pushover. There's going to be accountability, but I care. But part of me caring is holding you accountable to say, this may not work.
Right. Yep.
Has that been easy or hard for you?
That has been the hardest thing that I have ever done as an entrepreneur.
Why?
So I have had this company 11 years in November. And for the first few, you're just like fighting, trying to make sure that it stays alive, right? So my motto, I even had it on the wall. Before you ask me, go Google it, figure it out, right?
Which is, it's very, yeah, I can relate to that, yes.
Yeah, but what an a-hole thing to write on the wall. Like, okay, so that was where I first started. Then I had a manager, and she was even worse than I was. I mean, she was wonderful to me because she got everything done, but she was awful. She was a tyrant. Literally, I had somebody call her a tyrant. she also let me know that I was awful at managing people. I was awful at leading people. And so because of that, I was a visionary and I had my head in the sky. And because of that, I couldn't talk or relate to people that were actually doing the work. And I believed her.
Okay.
And then after she was called a tyrant by one of her colleagues, she was asked to not be in the company anymore.
I mean, okay, that makes sense.
But through all of this, and through even the next, major manager that was in place, like I write about this too, is they were telling me who I was and if I was good at something or not. And so I had this image of myself of you're an awful manager, you have to manage as a tyrant, or you have to manage with an iron fist, you have to manage with these different ways, or somebody's going to think of you as a pushover, or you have all of this stuff in your head. And I think that everybody goes through that. And finally, I just got to a point where I said, I'm going to manage the way that I would like to be managed. And I know that each person needs to be managed a little bit differently, but I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be honest. I read tons and tons and tons of books. I have failed miserably. We have a section in our quarterly conversation of like, Lindsay, what can you start, stop, and doing? Start, stop, and continue doing. And I hope that my teammates tell me this. And every single time it used to be something about my tone or something about, you get as a business owner and you're just you forget that. I tell business owners this all the time now too, you don't get to have a bad day. You don't get it. And if you do have it, you don't let your teammates know that ever. You don't get to ever snap at a teammate. You don't get to be an employee. You don't get those rights or those mishaps anymore. It's not that way. You don't get to treat people like they're robots because it's not that. You are here to love and serve these people because they're loving and serving you and your company. And it just made a huge, huge, huge difference. And it's amazing the transformation that has happened within the company because of that.
Because of you understanding what you needed to do to be the best you. One thing you mentioned there is you said kind of I think everyone goes through it. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think there is something very gender different.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I've recognized and seen is the asshole male, no big deal. That's what they're supposed to be. The caring, compassionate female leader, you need to be a B. Because if you're not hard, if you're not, then they're going to take all over you. And the reality is both of them are wrong. The asshole doesn't work. Does not.
Have you heard of the Enneagram?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
What number are you?
What would you guess?
Oh, gosh. I would guess a 7.
No.
Oh, really?
I'm an 8. I am a classic down deep 8.
Okay, so you're an 8, and then are you a wing 7 or a wing 9? Do you know?
I am a wing 7, I would say. And my wife is a 7. I would call her a wing 8 by everything I've ever interacted with her. She would not, because she just no way except to be that challenging or that direct.
Okay.
But it's interesting. We talk about traction. Gino Wickman, he has another book called Rocket Fuel.
He does.
Are you familiar with Rocket Fuel?
Yes, very much so. Mm-hmm.
So in that book, great book, my wife and I read that. She is very much the visionary, has started business, creates business, do all those things. And I, when it goes really well, I'm the integrator. Embrace that. I love it. Great. Until it doesn't go anymore. And then my Clifton Strengths command comes over and I'll lead. And what's interesting about Rocket Fuel has an assessment where you can say, are you a visionary or are you an integrator? And I score really high on both. And one of the things that I've learned, if there is a leader who I am like, man, I'm with you. I get it. Let's go. I am right in there. Awesome. Rock and roll. And if that leader isn't around, then I grab the reins and take over.
And go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what about yourself, Lindsay?
I am an 8, wing 9.
Okay.
So when you say you have to be a B, I get it. And what's been really interesting, at the beginning of my career, I was 8 through and through. And I was always 8, wing 9, but through my career, it was 8, 8, because I was the B. I was strong, I was hard, I was fast, you're going to do it my way
Because
or
people
get
convinced
out.
you that's what you had to be. Would you say that?
Oh, totally, totally. And now I lead more with my 9. So I lean really, really hard into 9. And it's actually been great for relationships, like just personal relationships too. But I lean a lot more into my 9, the peacemaker, but still have that, I would guess, probably rigid expectations of, here are the expectations, but let's command them in a nice way.
This is going to come together. I want to go back to you deciding not to go chase your Division I college soccer days at John Brown.
Great.
What'd you do instead?
I married a boy.
Okay.
And that went horribly wrong. What else did I do?
What'd you learn from that?
Don't. The answer is no. Gosh. But what happened is...
I'm going to interject so you can collect your breath here, because I don't think you expected, when we were getting ready for this podcast 45 minutes ago, that we were going to be talking about your first marriage and not going to college. This is what I want to share with you, because I asked you at the very beginning when you were talking about podcasts, doing podcasts. This is my belief. Own this, take it, share it with your team. It doesn't matter. Podcasts are to websites what Instagram stories are to Instagram. You can have all the beautiful tiles and everything looks amazing, but your stories is really what you're doing day to day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I believe one of the greatest opportunities is have just a genuine conversation like this, is like, yeah, these are the ups, downs, and the realities. And that's what people get to find out on podcasts. One of my greatest joys in doing these podcasts is not only making a friendship, like I believe we have, but also learning stories that no one else knows, and learning stories and situations no one else knows. And that's what drives you to do what you do today.
I like that.
So, your first marriage, not going to John Brown. What'd that teach you? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So I started businesses right after that. And
as a desire, or is there a therapy?
Good question. Probably both. I knew that I was going to be poor. So I was going to be poor working for somebody, or I was going to be, because one, I didn't have a college degree. So going out and working for somebody, or even if you do have a college degree, like you walk out and you should be poor, like welcome. It's part of growing up. That's like where you are. So I was going to be poor working for somebody else, or I was going to be poor working for myself. And so I started businesses after that. Now, the one thing that I don't regret not going to school. I don't regret not knowing more algebra or history. I don't regret any of that. What I do regret is the network and the opportunity that gives you. So that's one of the biggest things that I learned of school is not, yes, it's about a degree, fine. But 9 times out of 10, people don't use their degree. It's about who you know and the connections that you make. And going back to business is all about connections, whether it's people that you work with, people that you are connected to, people that you may be connected to. It's all about that. And if you haven't read The Go-Giver, that's what it's all about too.
Bob's great. That's a great book. Bob was one of my very first podcast guests.
Really?
He was so gracious. Oh yeah. It just a kind of a little bit of a funny, goofy guy, but just a heart of gold, would do anything for anyone.
I love it. Well, I loved that book so much that I reached out to them. I never met Bob, but I guess it would be his wife. And I said, I love it so much. What can I do? And so they were a client for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was
That's
fun.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
Before this podcast, my wife and I had a podcast together called Impact Makers, and that's where I kind of found out that I really enjoyed this. So I had Bob on my podcast. It was a ton of fun.
Love it.
So having a daughter who's 18, who was at that crossroads of, do I go to college, not go to college? You know, she was going to go to college to dance. Hopefully it's not the same where she's not going to college for a boy, but that's involved too. But she wants to go to esthetician school. Awesome. Great. My wife didn't go to college. She went to beauty school, had a, tremendous job. She's built a, huge major business and network marketing space, has not held her back at all. But I love what you share. And someone who has an Ivy League degree that I don't use every day, animal science, right? We're here. But I love what you share. The greatest thing that you learn in college, if you stop and learn it, is, what you said, the network. But I also believe that you learn how to think and how to think critically. So now that you're recognizing, you're sharing that, what did you do to learn that stuff instead? Or develop the network, develop the connections?
Well, developing the connections, that's just about going out and meeting people. So my business started actually in Starbucks. And I would go and I would sit there and I would work. And let me tell you, every Starbucks has Starbucks groups. I don't know if you know this. It's like, they all have groups, and some of them pollinate with each other. Some of them are closed groups and you cannot get involved unless you have an invite into them. But it's a whole thing. It's a whole ecosystem. And I didn't know this until I started working at a Starbucks. Let me tell you this, Tyler, by the time I was done with my networking, I was part of like 5 or 6 Starbucks groups. I even have a hat that is an official member of one of the Starbucks groups. I do. Yeah, because it's the best networking. Because who shows up to Starbucks at 10 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock in the morning? Well, it's not somebody that's going to work. It's usually somebody that's retired, or it's somebody that owns a business, it's a mom.
Yeah.
Those are kind of your people that are part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so getting in with the Starbucks, for me, it's mostly males. Yeah, they run the towns. It's really kind of crazy. And so I started there. I also did every type of networking event that you could possibly do. I remember at one point when you say, make sure that it works, I looked at my first employee. This was like 2 months after I hired her. I go, we'll call her Ann. I go, Ann, we have to get a new client this month or you can't work here anymore. And I go, yeah, that's where we are. So we would do every single networking event that you could possibly find in that month. And we found our client, which was good.
Whether you realize it or not, I think for anyone listening, that level of vulnerability is really, really healthy.
Or terrifying. Both. I'd go both.
But here's there's a difference between terrifying. This is my opinion. If you say to that employee, Ann, right? Hey, we need a client this month in order that you have a job. Okay, I'm going to go back in my office and I'm just going to sit. Like I imagine right now, like Kristen Hadid. Have you read her book about when she started the maid business?
No.
I forget the name of it. It's awesome. She goes, when she didn't know, she was like 19 when she started this in college. She goes, I would go back into my office and I just put my feet on the desk because that's what an owner did. Now, if you went to your employee and that's what you said, you go find business, I'm going to sit here and it's warm and cushy and nothing. That's different than here's the reality. We need to find a client. Let's link arms and do this together. I believe this, when a leader does that and they're authentic about it, I'm not putting pressure on you, but the reality is the reality, then everyone understands the mission that much clearer. And when it's that much clearer, then everyone can bind in and say, let's go make that happen. Because I believe in it. That's why I'm here. So let's go make it happen. I think that's really healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So Starbucks groups, this employee, starting to grow your business, just how did it continue to snowball forward?
A lot of EDM music. I would get into the office. I'd always get there earlier than everybody else. I'd get into the office, it'd be like Monday morning. I'd get in at like 6. And I would blast EDM music. I mean, I would loved it. people would come in with their coffee, like half asleep on Monday morning, and they would look at me like, what is wrong with you? No, I don't know. It's just, I was single for the most part, which means that not because you have to be single in order to have a business, but like networking was easy. I could go as early as possible. I could stay as late as possible. I mean, it was just pure grit. It was just pure hitting the pavement. And now grit does not mean that it wasn't fun, because you start happy hours at noon, which is awesome. And then you have multiple of those and multiple dinners, and then after dinner drinks, which is great. Not so good for your health. Can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore.
It's a little rough.
But just lots and lots and lots of networking. Lots of, you always say yes to lunch. You always go to Starbucks and see who you're going to meet there. I always went to professional development courses as well, because other people that are trying to do professional course, like one, it was a double-edged sword, because one, I got trained to do things, and two, 9 times out of 10, it's business owners that are in your classes, and so because of it, it's a great networking opportunity as well. So I did that a lot.
Just never eat alone.
Mm-hmm. Very similar.
It almost takes force into that, especially now we're married, son, life is different.
Different. Can't do it. Can't do what I did before.
How do you keep that, either that gritty edge or that importance of it, in knowing that, hey, life's different?
I could not, this is just me. There are 2 ways that I could not build a business. One, if I already had a cush corporate job. I know people do it all the time. They are in corporate jobs, they've got benefits, they have a paycheck that comes. Jumping into your own business, I couldn't do that. I think it's too hard. And as you get older, there are more responsibilities. You get a house, you get a wife or a spouse, you have children. Like there's so much on the table.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that. I could not start a business where I am in life right now, because I don't have the capacity to go out and network like I did before. I have something that's more precious in my life, a 2-year-old that I get to hang out with in the afternoon. And that was never something that I could do previously. So I don't know. I mean, how do we keep it up? Well, I have a team now, right? So like we're 11 years old. Like we've made a name for ourselves. We have a team. Like we get business word of mouth and initiatives that we do that way. But yeah. I don't think that I could start a business now. And that sounds really awful, like especially for somebody that might be wanting to start their business when they're 40.
Here's what I hear there. And here's, conversely, my first business, my wife was 6 months pregnant. I left a corporate job, started my business. Our second business, when we got into network marketing, our kids were at that point, 2, 3, and 4. Our third business was 2 years after that. So they were 6, 4, and 6, 5, and 3. I mean, at that point, this business, I mean, that was 6 years ago. They were 12, 11, and 9. And here's where I think there is, if it's important enough, you'll figure it out. And there's also this is what I gather from what you're saying. However, I'm going to temper my expectations based upon I know what's important to me.
Yep.
And I think as a leader, one of the things that I've learned, and I think you've shared, is it's super, super important, going back to what I mentioned about insensitivity, is you're a better leader today because you're recognizing that stuff. Instead of being the person who doesn't have, I can do what I did 10 years ago, no problem, I'll do it all over again. Then you're not understanding the dynamic of what's going on in your team, because people are different and scattered. There are people who can do that. And I think that's one of our biggest troubles in corporate America, is taking advantage of the young, single, maybe early married, no kids, or it's the mom or dad who's in their 40s, who is in the corporate role and saying, well, I need you to do what you did 10 years ago. Like, my expectations is you're working 60 hours, 80 hours a week and an on-call all the time, instead of going to your son's soccer game. Instead of like, no, I need you here. Instead of like, no, I need you to be a happy employee.
Right.
Because that's more meaningful.
Right. I think I tell tell business owners this too. Like, you should try to make it as much as possible a lifestyle business for people, for your employees. Maybe it's not for you, but for your employees. So if your teammates are happy because this job integrates within their life, then they'll stay forever, as opposed to the iron rod of making sure that you're here from this time to this time, doing this much work every single time. Like, if it works with the regular rhythm of their life, or if you allow it to work within their regular rhythm of life, they love it so much more.
I think it's imperative today what we went through with COVID. I think it's imperative to a different generation that understands, you know what, I think COVID drove a lot of people to understand, hey, tomorrow's not guaranteed. I'm going to live life. And if I hate where I'm working, I'm not working here until I retire. I'm like, no, I'll go do something else. It's not worth it. And so I believe today leaders have to embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw an article just yesterday, I think, and it was talking about the 3 B's: beliefs, belonging, and behaviors.
Okay.
And, you know, whether it's in your workplace, whether it's people looking at religions for those, that's what's going on in our society. And people are drawing lines everywhere saying, what beliefs, what behaviors, and what belonging does this give me? And if it gives me that, then I'm all in. And I think there's an imperativeness in business for leaders to say, I have to recognize those. What beliefs do we have as a business? What behaviors do we have as a business? And what are we doing to establish belonging? If we can kind of cover those things, man, then we do have a place in people's life. And if we forsake, you know, hey, maybe our beliefs are different, but if we can acknowledge them, that's great. But this is the behaviors that we're going to adhere by that gives us all belonging. People are all in. There's no financial matter that makes it one way or the other. They're all in.
Yeah. I want to read that article. If you'll send that to me, that would be awesome.
I'll send it to you.
Because that makes sense, for sure.
Because that's what's changed so much in our society, whether it's post-COVID, whether it's, you know, a lack of definition, everyone kind of being isolated, is everyone is seeking some type of community.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? Well, I believe it really relates to those 3. And then how effective you are in that is based upon what you said earlier as far as this evolution of, oh, I need to be more of the leader that is me, inherent me, when I'm at my best. And that involves connection, that involves seeing people for what they are, giving them expectations. Hey, you need to perform because part of why you exist is to perform.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up, just as you're looking forward, as is, you know, kind of either what's next or what do you want to keep doing that has allowed you to do what you're doing now?
What do I want to keep doing that has allowed me? Delegating.
Ooh. Has that been hard?
No, it is one of my favorite things to do at this point. And so every single week I go, what am I never going to do again? Oh. And so I look at that and go, okay, how do I document this process? How do I train somebody on it? What do I do here? Because I never want to do this again. And then I don't. And I delegate that task. And I have a few different ways to delegate of what is the expectation? What do I want to see by the end of it? Here are the tools. Who do you need to talk to? And it might not be me that you need to talk to. But that's one of them. And the second one is a few years ago, I really started thinking, what do I want to do on a daily basis with the time that I have? And all I want to do are talk to clients, brainstorm, have fun ideas of things to do, be on podcasts, talk to people, and talk to potential clients. So all I want to do is talk. I don't want to do anything else. And how do I make that happen? And I have made a team that surrounds me completely, that once I'm done talking, I shut my computer and all of the tasks get done. All of them get taken care of, all of them get delegated, all of them get quality control. They come back to me, I say, yes, I love it, and send it back to the client. And so delegating and knowing what I want and making sure that I am building a business to do that.
What I hear there is a leader understanding what they do best and allow others to do what they do best.
I have really embraced that.
Which I think, that's something that I've when you say, does delegating? No, it doesn't. Delegating my kids is a little hard.
A little harder.
A little harder. But other than that, yeah, it's, I hear you. Where can people learn more about you, It Crowd, everything you do? Where can they learn more?
Yeah. So our website is theitcrowd.com. So theitcrowd.com. That is our handle for absolutely anything and everything. They make me plaster my face all over all of it. So you will find me that way as well. And yeah, one of the things that I do, and I love doing it, and not very many people actually take me up on this, is, like I said, one of the things I love is to talk to people. And so if somebody has a question about marketing or business in general, or I have a marketing agency and I don't really like them, or I love them and here's their new plan, whatever it is, just call me and let's have a conversation about it. And let me see if there's any value that I can add to the conversations that you're already having.
Well, I love it. I love you, Heart. Thank you so much for your time. For everyone watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell to get notified whenever we drop new content. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could do this, could you rate and review this episode? By doing that, you'll help more people find impactful leaders like Lindsay. Thank you so much. Until next time, choose to lead with impact.